Oh. Alright, be back temporarily. So what did I miss? Oh, Gray Guy showed up.
Hey, how much would it take to buy you off?
1,379,432,682.
Precisely.
He lives in the woods. The house he's living in is a dump. It's falling apart. You think he cares about money? No, he doesn't.
I care about money and that the money's power. So yeah, I'll sell out for enough money to blow the world up. So I figure it'll cost me about $1 billion to blow up the world.
About that.
Well, money is comfort as well. I'm sure you could find a few things to comfort yourself with extra money.
Well, I'm really not.
We all do, right? We all do that.
I'm really not. I'm not really that, you know. I almost like being poor because it gives me an excuse not to be an asshole. I mean, in terms of wasting money on crap. So I like that I don't have the money for crap because it just means that, yeah, I don't have to buy crap then. Cool. But I really don't think, I mean, if you gave me $1 million, I really don't think I'd spend much of it on me. Wow, Piro has listening standards. Must be a fake Piro. Piro I know likes to listen to complete lunatics babbling about psychotic nonsense.
Pretty much.
What the hell is a Binio Bill guy? I don't know what that is. I'm not Googling it. Fuck you. So anyway, who cares? Yeah, well, doing the sober thing, huh? Yeah, oh, being sober, what a bummer. Yeah, it's probably a good idea for a little while. Yeah, well, being a freak is a good thing. Oh, he's gone. No point talking to him. Yeah, it's just bizarre, that whole smoking late in life thing. I'll never understand that one. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's the kind of thing you're smart enough to know. It's the kind of thing that, you know, it can start owning you. So you gotta, you know, take control or you're... I mean, you know, as funny as it is, I mean, I've known some really intelligent people, you know, that completely crashed and burned on booze. I mean, you're just saying, like, how the fuck could they fall for that? I mean, shit. I mean, it's so cliche, but it really is dangerous. I mean, alcohol... It can make people just do the stupidest fucking things. It's kind of funny, Piro. You sort of look like a guy. You know, a guy I used to live next door to. You know, who just drank himself right into the ground. I mean, the whole thing, you know, liver cirrhosis, the whole, you know, and he kind of looked like him.
Just so you see, it is me.
Yes. Yeah, he had your kind of voice, too. He had kind of a deep voice. But the guy could drink. I mean, I never saw anybody drink like him. I mean, he could drink a quart of vodka a day, no problem.
A quart, that's it?
I mean, a liter. You know, one of those, you know, those big plastic bottles. Plastic bottles.
I got a guy sitting next to me, he's been drinking a half gallon for 12 years now.
Yeah, well, he didn't make it 12 years. He made it 3 years. And then you know, he actually drove his car into somebody's house. I
Oh
mean,
shit.
you know, that bad, you know. They hauled him out of here 3 times. You know, and one time he had a 4.3 alcohol level. 4.3!
Holy shit.
I mean, he was supposed to be dead, you know? I mean, he was close to dead in the sense that, you know, I was like, is he breathing? You know, I don't think he's breathing. You think he's breathing? I mean, we actually had that conversation. I mean, he was just so gone.
Damn.
0.43?
0.43, yeah, whatever the number. I'm just saying it was instead of like being a 1 point. Years. And then I, you know, I used to sit in my backyard with, you know, have a little fire and a couple of beers. And he started hanging out in my backyard, having fire and a couple of beers, you know, and that's where everything just started going to hell.
So basically, it's like you, Gary, except with alcohol.
I guess, well, whatever, however you want to put it. I mean, I was lucky because, yeah, I just, there's no way I could drink that much, so I could never become a good alcoholic. Yeah, well, I also got a lot drunker than people get. I mean, I don't know, I mean, you know. I just can't drink that much. Yeah, I like being piss-faced, or something. I don't like being shit-faced. I like something less shitty. Yeah, where'd Piero go? Oh, I guess he just hopped on to say hello or something, and goodbye or whatever.
Something like that.
I guess.
Yep.
Show or something. Fuck this crap.
Pretty much, if you make something that's watchable and then throw the whole Christianity thing into it, that makes it popular. Because everybody, is well, most people are religious and they just eat that stuff up,
I don't think that's it. To tell you the truth, I really don't think so. But whatever.
They like to watch religious kooks.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think doing religious seriously is getting them anywhere. They must be doing just being bubbas, and yeah, everybody will watch train wrecks.
I wonder what the hell this whole reality TV thing, like, why did it get so popular in the last 10 years? I mean...
Well, because there's 796 television networks, right? And so they're all fighting over a 0.20% market share. And the dumber your audience, if you can attract the dumbest audience on earth, you'll sell more product. Because the dumber your audience, the more crap they'll buy because a lizard told them to, right? So that's the idea. TV works in reverse, okay? Smart programs fail because smart programs attract smart people, and smart people don't buy shit because some asshole in a commercial told them to. But dumb people, yeah. You tell them to buy some popcorn, they'll buy some fucking popcorn.
Or Duck Dynasty Christmas cards.
Well, I'm just saying that that's exactly the reason why garbage television succeeds, is because stupid people click ads, stupid people do what lizards tell them to do. So that's why I don't have a TV. That's why I haven't watched TV in 6 years. It's because I finally figured out TV is for morons. But the internet's turning into shit TV now, so I don't know where I'm going to go next.
I'm with you there, Gary. I don't ever watch TV unless I'm sitting down to eat with my grandparents or something.
Yeah, it's good for eating. I still watch movies when I eat sometimes. I'll put on a movie or something, but I don't... I've been watching physics videos when I've been eating lately. They're not quite as good, but you have to watch... It is funny. I need to watch something when I eat. I need something to distract me when I'm eating. It's just eating. You're just like, I'm eating. I'm aware of me eating. I don't really like eating when I know I'm eating. You kind of like want to eat without knowing you're eating. At least I do. I'm just saying psychologically. It's like I'm more comfortable if I don't have to concentrate on eating. But I used to like to watch my own videos when I'd eat, but I'm just kind of getting sick of me. Which I didn't think would happen, right? I mean, after all these videos, I'm finally sick of listening to me, which is a little bit funny.
Do you miss some of the old days back in like 07 and 08 with the whole fake Sagan and Amazing Atheist, or do you think it's gotten better or worse since then?
Those arguments are so stupid, and so yeah, that was almost embarrassing when I think about that. I wasted my time on that crap.
I just loved when he just drunk himself and then started getting his gun out and made out with TJ and just made a complete ass of himself. That was the most hilarious shit I've ever seen.
Nasty.
Now, again, these judgments that you people pass are so amazing to me. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Fake Sagan's life went into all kinds of spirals into doom and shit. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything, does it? So a man kissed another man, that somehow means something. Even the fact that TJ shoves a banana up his ass, why should I give a fuck? Why should anybody say, oh, this is a character issue, or this means, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. You think people don't shove bananas up their ass all the time? Well, they do. Go online and look, you can go find, there's whole video sites that just have a bunch of guys that have machines that shove fucking dildos in and out of their asses. I mean, I've seen the videos. They go out and you can actually buy a machine somewhere. I don't know where you buy them, but you can buy a machine that'll shove a dildo in and out of your ass. All right, and you can find videos of people doing that. So don't tell me it means something that some guy shoves a banana up his ass, because it really doesn't mean anything, because guess what? Some of you people probably have a dildo machine.
Always knew you were gay, Gary. Always
Excuse
thought
me?
it, now I'm absolutely sure. Oh, well, you're looking up gay porn with bananas and stuff, so you're obviously gay.
Yeah, I don't know why you're saying that. What, you haven't looked around the internet? You don't
Not
find
for that. I've never seen that in my life.
Hey, whoa! I didn't realize humans weren't curious animals. Gee, you just do what mommy tells you, and you never go any further than that. Mommy doesn't
I
say.
don't want to see that, so I don't look it up. You see, I look up what I want to find. I don't want to find a man with something in his asshole, so I don't look it up.
You
But
you
suppose you
stupid
gay, so
shit.
you look it up.
Asshole, I'm just trying to point out that it's out there, that I saw this shit, that I went to this website, and all of a sudden there was a bunch of videos playing on my damn fucking browser with a bunch of guys kneeling over and having a machine shoving a dildo in their ass. And I just said, that's pretty damn curious. I'm just saying.
Oh,
it's
it's pretty
It's okay. I've seen that same machine used on women.
yeah, regardless.
You can use that machine.
The fact that the machine.
It can be used for any orifice.
Okay,
I
but the
think
fact
that's
is, it doesn't mean
disgusting.
anything. If I found out the President of the United States has a dildo machine, I'm not gonna say, hey, that means something, because it doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying, fake Sagan's, whatever, his being a drunken, rednecky asshole episode, obviously he was drunk, obviously he did something insanely stupid, but so what? I mean, the fact that he became a gun nut is just a fact. I mean, it's just like you look at it and you just say, oh, he thinks he's going to solve the problem by having a gun. Well, I think the problem's going to be solved is he's going to end up shooting his own nuts off.
It was interesting how lively though it was back in the day, with all these different personalities. I mean, I know it was more shallow, but still.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was just drama. So to me, it wasn't useful drama. From my perspective, I just, like I said, in hindsight, I shouldn't have let them change my agenda.
What did you come on here? By that I mean YouTube. What did you come on there wanting to do before they kind of got into debates with you?
Well, you can see it in my old videos. And when I first came on, I did some public access TV shows, so I put those on YouTube. And they were basically about these 10 subjects I have, the right to die and this, that, and the other thing. And there's some of these 5-minute videos where I just go on the subject and explain. So there was one on the economy and the right to die and virtual reality and whatever. And and so then I got into conversation with the modern mystic and, Matt, thou art that now, before he became a phantasmagorical lunatic. And, we did a lot of video exchanges back and forth talking about how the brain works, and getting into some of determinism and some of this kind of stuff, and it was very interesting conversations. And and then I made some commentaries about the nature of violence and technology and how these two things aren't going to mix. And that some fat horse face fucking responded to that and did something, and then I got into this whole Holocaust crap, and then there was some other kind of crap, and it all just turned into crap.
Yeah, I remember like TJ and all them messing with those, I don't know what to call them, but they're like anarchist, school shooter, worshiper kind of people. And that's where I kind of remember starting to watch your videos.
That's where it started too. Yeah, I got into a whole fight with these stupid anarchists. You know, that was a waste of time.
Because I remember you kind of telling TJ to kind of be careful around these people, because I remember him trying to antagonize them, and then that one kid actually ended up going off in real life.
Yeah, well, that was the funny part too. Yeah, is that, you know, that's really dangerous stuff he was playing with there, and that was just stupid.
It's so weird watching that, and then you read and then you see the news, and actually the two worlds connected.
Yeah, well, those people are just so fucking stupid. I mean, these people who think they're, you know, they're all racist, and, you know, they think they're going to outbreed the, you know, well, you know, going to get into a breeding war, you know. I mean, it's just so crazy.
Do you interact with any of those old people anymore, like Captain Awesome or Fake Sagan or TJ, or are you pretty much just done with them?
Well, Captain Awesome doesn't, as far as I know, he's whatever. I don't know what he is. He's a short order cook. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing or where he is. Fake Sagan, I guess the last I heard, you know, he was working at a you know, production studio somewhere. So he was sort of getting into Hollywood a little bit, but I don't know whether he's gotten a real job there or not. I mean, he was doing grip work or whatever.
Wow.
And, you know, and TJ's doing his thing, but nobody, you know, TJ doesn't respond in any kind of real way to anything.
Yeah, it seems like everyone kind of went off into their own kind of respective groups or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their, you know, agenda. I mean, I'd say I'm
I don't
the
have
most
an agenda.
I've been doing the same basic thing since the beginning. It's just that, you know, it's not even like I just want to talk about antinatalism. It's just that that's sort of the role I've gotten stuck in. In a way, it's the only way that makes any sense anyway, because you can't talk to people about anything anyway. Anything you bring up, they just naysay and nitpick, so it's all kind of very difficult. I mean, you know, these things really should be arguable. There should be a way to, you know, I'm still fighting with this idea that there should be some way to get to a better standard of truth than people just spouting opinions.
Do you have any idea where you're going to take this next, or you're just kind of making it up as you go along?
Well, I mean, I think I got all the pieces, so it's yeah, I got to do some sort of next level thing. So, yeah, but I don't know what that is yet. I mean, as strange as it sounds, I think I sort of have a physics paper in my head I want to write. So it's kind of, you know, I kind of want to see if I can do that. You know, but it's funny how you can gain credibility in different ways, but, you know, I really want to, it's not that I want to attack Einstein's special relativity, but I sort of do. I mean, I sort of want to attack what people have turned it into, you know, this whole time dilation bullshit, and, you know, I think there's a lot of fertile ground there.
What would be your take on time dilation?
Well, I just don't think it's not time dilation. It's people aren't recognizing, I guess, with this whole speed thing, that matter never travels any reasonable percentage of the speed of light. Matter can't travel at these speeds. So all this theoretical talk about what it would be like to travel on a light beam, you can't do that because matter disintegrates. Matter is made out of energy, and energy is made out of photons, and photons are already moving at the speed of light. So you can't move matter at the speed of light because the matter inside of the matter is already moving at the speed of light. So it's about changing the direction or orientation of the matter itself. And when you change orientation, you may have the appearance of a time dilation, but the appearance of a time dilation is being created by the fact that you are changing the matter. So even if you take an atomic clock and you put it out into space, and then you bring it back home and you say, look, time changed for the clock. Well, no, it didn't. What changed is that the matter in the clock was changed. And so time didn't change. The function of the matter changed because the arrangement of the matter changed. So,
So there'd be no way. So there'd be no way to really measure if you could ever go that fast because the instruments would be affected by it.
Instruments are going to be made out of matter, and the matter they're going to be made out of is going to have light in them, and so therefore they're going to be affected by whatever movement you're imposing upon the clock. So I just don't think, I don't think Einstein would disagree with what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think what people have extrapolated onto Einstein things that weren't necessarily part of what he was saying. So, but I can't say for sure when it comes to special relativity. General relativity is probably safer, but special relativity, special relativity, let's do it real quick. Okay, special relativity basically says, like, look, say I'm going half the speed of light, and I shine a flashlight in the direction that I'm moving. And then somebody else is at a stationary location watching both of us. So it's watching the light that that's shooting out of my flashlight, and it's watching me. And the special relativity argument would be is that the observer would just see the light moving at the speed of light and me moving at the speed of light, but somehow it wouldn't be able to tell the difference that one of us that we're both moving in the same direction and I'm only going 80% the speed of light. It would just see the speed of light movement. I'm not saying this exactly the right way. But the point is that there'd be this idea that somehow if I'm moving in the same direction as the light at 80% of the speed of light, that somehow I'm still going to see the light that I shot in front of me as if it's moving at the speed of light. And no, I wouldn't. Okay, I don't think that's true. And so I think that's bullshit. The fact that light always is generated without any acceleration. Like, you don't need to accelerate light up to light speed. Light speed just is initiated. So it's initiated from a dead point. So whenever light's initiated, there's no momentum. So obviously the light that leaves my flashlight is moving at the speed of light. But the fact is, if I'm moving 80% of the speed of light in the same direction as the light will be incredibly shifted. And it won't go as far as it would have gone if I was stationary. So the distance between me and the light being shined is going to change, so the speed is going to change. So I just think it's bullshit. I don't think time changes. I think it's just a fact that there's no way the light can travel away from me at the speed of light when I'm moving in the same direction as the light at 80% of the speed of light. There's just no way the light can still be moving at the speed of light away from me because I'm still following it.
Yeah, but it depends.
So you would make up the difference in essence.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't think physically it's possible to have a paradox like that.
Well, it depends on your frame of reference. Because even when you're talking about the speed of an object, you reference it to something else.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's no way there wouldn't be a difference between the observer's perception of the light and my perception of the light. So if I'm moving at 80% of the speed of light in the same direction as the light, I'm definitely going to perceive that light differently than the person who's not moving. There's just no way for that not to be true.
Yeah.
But I mean, my point, I think the point I'm making that is, you know, like I said, it's built into Einstein's statements pretty clearly. You know, E equals mc squared is saying it pretty clearly that matter is made out of energy. And the only addition I'm making to the argument is I'm saying the energy in matter is still in the form of photons. The matter isn't absorbing photons and locking them away somewhere. They're still photons. They're still moving at the speed of light inside the matter. So they haven't lost anything, and you can't move, and the rule still applies. You can't move the photons in the matter faster than the speed of light. So every time something moves in a direction, the matter inside of it has to move coherently with that direction change. So that's the force applied to change direction. It's really just a way of reorienting the photons in the matter, because they can't move. You can only move the extra distance when they're going in the opposite direction. So the only time you can move an atom is when the photons are going in the opposite direction of the movement, because then you can double space them. So you can have them go a greater distance in the negative direction, but you can never go them double space in the positive direction. So that's what keeps warping the matter, and then the nucleus of the matter has to change also. So it's like a lag in it, but obviously the lag is at a frame rate of a gazillion frames per second, so you don't see any of those changes. But the fact is the matter is rearranging as you move an object. The atoms inside of the object rearrange as you move it.
So quantification of that would never really be possible.
I think it will be. I think it is all, as Feynman would put it, and as I like to put it, I think it is all a big giant checkerboard. It's made out of incredibly simple process. It's just that there's so much of it. And that's what's daunting us, is just the volume. You know, an apple is to the earth as an atom is to an apple. So when you understand that it's the volume of bits to this game we're caught up in, is the part that breaks our conception, that breaks our ability to see it on this grand scale. But it's as simple as dominoes. It's just that there's a zillion dominoes. I mean, so many dominoes on so many levels interacting with each other, and it's just the complexity of the arrangement of the dominoes. But there's very simple processes at the heart of this thing. The processes are really simple. So I have like 3 diagrams for the formation of photons, where they're chasing their tail, and that creates a loop. And then if you just open that loop at the mouth just a little bit, you create a lock. So if I have a circle with one end that's just a little bit open, and that thing spins in a circular motion, obviously it will loop on anything it catches. So if it catches another loop, it would loop into it, and the 2 rings would lock. So they're like a magician's rings, and you can end up locking those rings together, and that's what I would say is the nuclear force. So I'm just saying you could describe how these things get locked into these patterns with very simple mechanisms. So the mechanisms that are locking the photons into the atoms are very simple mechanisms that are locking the photons into circular orbits.
Do you think part of it too is just that kind of the way our brains are wired almost can't conceive of some of this stuff? I mean, we use so many heuristic shortcuts and how we conceive it.
I think it's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned not to realize how simple it is, and so it's not intuitive because we're not raised to see it. But I think that as it becomes more and more, and they've made it all obtuse by, it's like mathematics. The way they've taught mathematics was so obnoxious to what was really going on. I mean, I wish I could go back to school and, you know, redo it in this framework. Like even the way the science was described, right? There was 3 different classes, right? There was physics, biology, and chemistry. Well, it's all one subject. It's right. It's all physics. Physics leads to chemistry. Chemistry leads to biology. It's all one subject. I mean, it should have never been divided. And it's like algebra and geometry. It's all one subject. These things shouldn't be separate. And so that the whole way people are introduced to this stuff breaks your understanding. And I didn't realize how simple math was until I realized that all math is a description of relationships. So like pi and E equals mc squared, all formulas are just a description of a relationship between things that have fixed properties. And I just never really understood that that's why it comes out that way. I mean, trigonometry, you know, sines, cosines, tangents, all of these things are made out of structural relationships that are, you know, a permanent fact of physical function. I mean, it's the way the mechanism works. And I just really didn't think of it that way, and it just made it all something you memorize rather than something that you understand. And I think I could have learned so much better if I would have understood that these are relationships, that it's not something you have to memorize, it's something you need to understand.
No. Well, as a commentary on the education system, you think there's some merit in the fact that we try to specialize people?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I think education is just very myopic, and it gets caught in the traditions, and they do it this way, and they've just been doing it that way for 100 years, so that's how they keep doing it. And it's this whole classroom thing is just so stupid, and so I don't even get into the whole education subject, but yeah, there's no innovation there, no imagination applied at all. So yeah, it fails all over the place. But I think that's happened in a lot of these, you know, theoretical physics. I mean, the two-slit experiment is 100 years old, and nobody has done a proper dissection of that fucking experiment. After all these brilliant physicists, all this brilliant stuff, and they still haven't gone to the work to prove that the meaning of that experiment.
What's your view on it and what it means?
I think what it means is that the photons and electrons have unique properties, that they're not all the same thing, that each one is a little clock and each one has a different time on it. And that's why the whole setup of the two-slit experiment and guarantees the randomness. It guarantees the fact that the photons going through the slit are not the same. And that's why there's so much distance between the gun and the slits. They're trying to guarantee the fact that you're going to have photons going through the slits that actually refracted off the wall, bounced off the back wall, and then went through the slit. So they're going to be time-dilated photons. So they're not going to be the same photon. They're going to be different photons. And that's why they're going to behave differently, is because they're going to have a native clock orientation. So that's the hidden variable. And it's that hidden variable that's revealed in the interference pattern. That's not really an interference pattern. It's a reflection of why there's an interference pattern in the first place in waves. It's because it's going to be a reflection of the fact that there's standards to frequency. Frequency must come in harmonics. It must jump in it can go like you can have a harmonic at 2,000 hertz, and then 4,000, and then 8,000, and then 16,000, and 32,000. They come at regular pattern intervals, and that's a rule of harmonics. And so what the two-slit experiment is really revealing is the fundamental harmonics built into light itself, in the sense that the spin of the photon is unique to each photon. So each photon is at a different clock tick, and there might be 12 different clock ticks, and that'll account for your why they diffract in these regular patterns in this experiment. But clearly the variables are in the experiment. The experiment is intended to create noise. If you didn't want noise, if you wanted to prove what you were talking about, you'd just shoot the damn photons through the slits, right? You wouldn't shoot them so scattered that you don't know whether it went through the slit or not. So obviously there's a key ingredient in having that randomness where you don't even know where your photon's going.
So do you think they're just confusing the map for the territory?
Well, I think they're misinterpreting based on the fact that they've created an experiment that has a huge number of variables in it, and they're accounting for the results by not accounting for the fact that they've created all these variables that they're not accounting for. They're describing the experiment as very simple when in fact the experiment isn't very simple. It has a huge number of required variables that they've installed into the experiment. The outside walls of the slits, for example. How would you explain their necessity? I mean, you're not creating a mechanical wave, so why would you need those outside walls? What would be their role to play in interacting with a photon? They would have no role to play. They could only have a role to play in an environment where friction created waves, and that only works in water waves.
I wonder how much of experimentation is kind of botched because of a similar kind of scenario to where they throw all these variables in and they almost kind of contaminate the experiment.
Yeah, I don't know whether they throw them in, but I mean, there are some experiments they do that are so complicated in terms of the instrumentality they're using to detect something that you almost have to say, are they really detecting anything real, or are they only detecting what their fucking hardware is creating? I mean, I almost suspect that atomic accelerators have gotten to that point, that they are actually seeing things their own instruments are creating. Because when you look at these detectors, they are preposterously complex machines. And you're saying, how can you look at the smallest things in the world with these 400-ton monstrous pile of bristling electronics? And you're almost like saying, how could you not be creating enough noise to fuck up this experiment? I mean, it seems impossible to me that they can see something so small with machines making so much noise.
Yeah, I almost kind of wonder too if, like, because you've mentioned peak knowledge in a way, and I almost kind of wonder if they've kind of picked all the low-hanging fruit when it comes to a lot of knowledge they're trying to gain through science, and that the more we learn, more
They have, and we've resolved a lot of this stuff, certainly when it comes to chemistry and biology. They've made huge advances. But physics does have this open door yet. They still haven't done this unification thing, and so that's what I'm saying, is that I think we're on the door of. We're right. I think it's there for a physicist to grab. You know, if he doesn't get too caught up in all this phantom quantum mechanics crap. So if he doesn't get too lost in the presumptions of quantum mechanics, I think unification theory is possible. I think somebody can make it understood how all this connects, how magnetism, electricity, gravity, and the nuclear forces are connected. And it's all built into the relationship between electrons and photons. That's the most of what the universe is doing has to do with electrons and photons interacting with each other.
one of my worries is, as to bring up a subject you mentioned earlier, is that we're going to put the kibosh on our civilization before we get to find out stuff like that.
Put the kibosh on what?
Oh, on the civilization, you know, through the economic crisis and resource.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that, and who cares anyway, right? It's not a, you know, it's not a critical ingredient beyond the fact that maybe some people, once you give them a physics theory that explains the function of the universe, then maybe they'll accept evolution and all this other crap more likely. But I don't think it's critical to that. But yeah, I mean, I think we're really at the point where, like I said, we've already dissected biology. And I mean, the evolution thing is just so fucking over. We can see it. We can see the monkey in us. And it's not that hard to fucking see it. So let's just acknowledge it. That there's two pieces to us. There's the primitive core, and then there's this abstract thinking machine on top that can do something called logic. And it can do it without any self-interest. It can do it merely as a function.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
It's like buying one of those little Google computers and then using, you know, and then running, you know, Mozilla on it or something. I mean, you can buy a computer that's meant for one thing and you can use it for something else. And we can use our brain as something other than the scheming device it was intended to be. So anyway, hey there, Evelyn. Evelyn, shall I call you Evelyn, or shall I call you Misery, or shall I call you asshole, or you know, gaping vagina? I could call you a skanky cunt now, right? I could do that. You fucking skanky cunt. Yeah, I could do that. Can't hear you, but it's okay. I have to get something to drink.
How dare you?
Yes, exactly. So, it looks like you're wearing a muumuu. But, you know, whatever. It's probably a totally appropriate dress blouse. It's dress blouse. Blouse style thing.
DoNotGod, what's your opinion on the aspect of free will, or the idea of free will?
What's my opinion on free will? What? There's no free will. There's no free. Free is a bogus word.
Okay.
So our
It's all
will
your
is
brain.
yes, exactly. It's brain function all over the place, but there's nothing. Your will is just a manifestation of your psychology. It's just a dominant program, and so yeah, that's what rose to the top, so to speak, and that's what you ended up being. But it has nothing to do with anything willing it. It has nothing to do with anything thinking it. It's all subconsciously formed, and you know, there is no you making it happen. There's a bunch of different programs that smash together and create what you call you, but there is no you.
Everything
So then-
you are is your brain, and everything your brain is your brain was formed by nurture and nature, by environmental inputs combined with your genetics or your natural biology. So that's what you are. Is that unique combination?
Yeah, you're just programmed. You're programmed reflexes. So you have certain programmed reflexive reactions to different stimuli. So if I say the word sun, there's different triggers in your brain that trigger when you hear sun, and different feelings, and those feelings are associated with other thoughts and ideas, and so they'll be reprocessed by your brain, and then your brain will come up with something like son. Hey, that's the same word for a male child. And then your brain will say, well, wait a minute, that's completely irrelevant. So let's get back to the physics part. What is it? Oh, sun. The sun is associated with fire. Well, it's not really fire, but it's nuclear fire. Well, it looks like fire, so let's call it fire anyway.
So do you think we're not at that point, evolutionary-wise, to even begin to understand what makes electrons do what they do?
I'm just saying, no, I think we're quite capable of understanding. It's just they're really tiny, okay? So you can't see one. You have to theorize about its function because you can't see one. You can't just
But
watch
what if we
them
aren't
and
at
say,
that
oh yeah, I
point
know what
where
to
we can begin to understand it?
Well, I'm just saying, right? I don't. What are you asking me? I'm saying that we're right on the cusp. I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying a decent physicist right now, I think, could do the unification thing and pull it off. So I think we're really damn close, but they're all caught up in all their string crap and their fucking photons going through two slit bullshit, and they're so distracted by the nonsense crap theoretical physics assholes have come up, the multiverse. They're too distracted by this fucking holograms now. People are talking about black holes creating holograms. I mean, the whole thing is so fucking whacked that they're falling right off the tracks. They just got to get back on the track.
So do you think in our lifetime we'll get back on the track?
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably do it in about 3 weeks, okay? Maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I don't know, somewhere around there. I'm going to do it because nobody else is doing it. So anyway, I think it's just, I think we're damn close, that's all. I think I'm damn close.
I just hope we'll get there before everything goes belly up.
Yeah, I just don't think you're going to, when somebody if somebody does it, I just think you're going to say, oh, yeah, I guess that's yeah, I should have figured that out myself. And then you're going to say, well, how's that change anything? Oh, that's right. It's not going to get me laid, so fuck it. I mean, it's not going to be that, you know, it's just going to demonstrate that the questions are there to be answered. Now we've answered them. But I'm just saying we can already answer all the important questions for what a human being is. And a human being is just a manifestation of complexity. And it's just relationships. It's just, again, matter is sticky. And it sticks together in certain ways. And these patterns can be created by filters that are established by the physics of the process. So it just ends up filtering for certain things. And it's just like, in a way, like when the earth is molten, you know, all the gold atoms start sticking to each other. And then all the uranium atoms stick to each other. All the like atoms start sticking to each other, become veins of material. And that's how they got in the earth in the first place. And it's that same kind of filtering process that takes place, not the same kind, but a similar kind of filtering that's built into the physics that has ended up creating, when you end up having a replicating molecule, this is what you'll end up with, is these toolkit-enabled machines. But that's all we are. We're just the machines that replicate molecules.
There are some things about us, about humans, that aren't really understood yet, though. I mean, for example, consciousness isn't really understood with a lot of detail yet.
Well, I guess, but I mean, I think it is something you can understand within a reasonable container. You know, you can get a vague idea, and so I could argue that I think my theory on consciousness is pretty good, in the sense of that I'm arguing that it's a feedback mechanism. So much like a camera feedback, it's the same sort of effect. I wonder if we can do that in here. I run my camera into my little image, whether I can strobe it or not.
Yeah, you're just gonna crash your computer.
I don't know, it won't. Yeah, it's strobing there. You can see it a little bit. It's creating the multi-images. I don't know why I can't. Oh, I see there's lag. That's why. There it is. So you can sort of see it trying to go in there infinitely long. So anyway, theoretically, this camera has a limiter. Okay, so its feedback can't go infinite. Okay, because it'll crash into pixel disintegration. So it loses pixels. It can't it can't go infinite because it runs out of pixels. But theoretically, in your brain, such a feedback loop wouldn't have a pixel limitation. Theoretically, right? So that could be creating the mechanism of consciousness, is that you do have this kind of black hole created when you create a feedback mechanism. And we definitely have a feedback mechanism, right? What I'm saying, is re-entering my consciousness immediately, and it's getting reprocessed by my brain. So in a sense, you could argue that as soon as you have a sense organ, and the sense organs are sensing what they're producing, you know, you have this feedback mechanism, you know, where it's doing something in front of itself. And so you could argue that that's sort of the mechanism of consciousness. And I would sort of argue that it's a two-brain phenomenon. That's maybe even why we have a split brain, is that there's the input reflexes, and then there's the output reflexes. So we have two sets of, we have our muscle memory, you know, our learning how to juggle or something, and those are output reflexes. And we have input reflexes that orient things by gravity, you know, that establish colors and relationships. Our brain interprets the raw data and turns it into coherent sensations. And so that's a whole set of knee-jerks. And then that stuff is essentially projected inside of our own brain for our brain to look at. So brain A creates the screen image. brain B looks at the screen image and then creates another feedback loop that goes back into the projector that shoots it right back on the brain again, you know, on the screen. So it's that feedback loop and the fact that there's two brains controlling it that are creating the phenomenon that we call consciousness. So something like that. So I'm just saying, even if we just understand it in those terms, to me that gives it enough of a description to be satisfactory to any kind of reasonable curiosity. We know why it exists. It exists because it enabled us to better compete. So it's not any more complicated in terms of its reason why it exists than a sharp tooth. You understand why teeth are sharp. Well, understanding why brains become conscious just has to do with the fact that it creates more sophisticated behavior that's more conducive to survival. And that's the only reason. I mean, in a sense, the consciousness is entirely superfluous to the fact that the only thing the body needs is the behavior. It's the behavior that consciousness creates is the only reason why we're conscious.
What,
So do
what
you
about
kind of
the activities of the brain that cause you to do things that are the complete opposite of survival, like suicide and castration?
Survival in the sense that those passions and those sensitivities 99% of the time are conducive to survival. Loving your wife and caring for your kids and doing all these other things, that capacity to love, that capacity to need, that capacity for things to be protected and for life to have meaning, all of those things are what makes us survivable. Yes, if everything goes wrong, it makes us like a lemming, right? You could argue, why do lemmings go crazy? Well, they go crazy because they get overpopulated and it beats disease. So instead of dying of disease, they just die of chaos. And it's, in the long term, more healthy to be killed by chaos than to be killed by diseases, because diseases can wipe you all out. Diseases can come back and haunt you, where chaos, appropriately imposed, will reduce your population, make you more functional and stronger in the long term. So, I mean, it seems idiotic. I mean, it seems stupid to have your population go crazy and run off cliffs and jump into streams and, you know, die. But clearly, it is a survival mechanism in the long run.
So Gary, what would you say the minimum level of like brain structure or neurology is required in order for a being to become conscious? Like, would you say insects are?
Yeah, well, the scientists will argue that they have what are called these pain receptors. I don't think you can narrow brain function that way. But I've made the argument that I think anything that learns, anything that can learn, probably is conscious. Because I think the only way learning can work is through consciousness. So I think, because it's a validation system, you know what I mean? It creates that idea of a reward and a punishment. That's what learning requires. Learning requires the creation of value and the ability to evaluate one choice over another choice. And to establish that understanding that something is preferable and to learn it, I think you have to be conscious. So I guess some, insects are capable of learning. They can't learn a lot, but they can learn. You can learn left and right, and food is left and food isn't right, or that kind of stuff. So I'd say that they must have some level of consciousness, and they might have a very strong consciousness in the sense that it might be very loud, like it might be like thunder and lightning. It might be very loud, but it just says one thing, like it says, "No!" really loud, or it says, "Yes!" really loud, but that's all it does. So in a way it might be even worse than our consciousness, because it just might be so loud. I mean, there just might not be anything in between. Horrible, awful horror in terms of suffering, like the worst you can imagine, and the most, intense orgasmic comfort. I mean, that might be the only two extremes he ever experiences: orgasm and absolute horror.
I know Schopenhauer says something like life swings between boredom and suffering or something like that.
Yeah, well, Schopenhauer was a douchebag. I really don't have much respect for him, to tell you the truth. I think boredom is an idiotic word. I think boredom is an absolutely idiotic concept. I'm not saying that tedium doesn't affect us. I mean, if you have to do something that's tedious, that is a horrid feeling. But boredom? Oh, please. I mean, you have an infinite number of stories in your head alone. You can go to the movie file in your own brain anytime you want and turn on any fantasy you want to. I mean, bored? Fuck that. It's idiotic.
Yeah. The tedium of everyday life, or like first world life, is doing the same things you do every day.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying tedium is a very,
I agree with you.
obnoxious feeling, when you're doing something repetitive and you just hate it, and, that's a very obnoxious sensation. But boredom, I mean, that's kid stuff. I mean, once you got a brain that can work, you really don't have an excuse to ever be bored.
Well, it's kind of like what you're talking about, finding, I don't know if pleasure is the right word, but contentment is such a, you're almost on a tightrope, because on one side you have tedium, but you also don't want to go the other extreme where you're stressed out and you don't know what the hell you're doing. So it's such a, delicate balance in a way.
I suppose, but I don't know. There's, the trick of life is that